To understand how the deck was stacked against Vikram and Aanya, you have to look at the architecture of the town they grew up in. It was a society built around a rigid, vertical hierarchy that separated wealthy landowning families from a labor class, with no stairs connecting the two. Vikram started at the bottom. As the son of a lower-caste tailor, his family had dignity, but zero financial leverage. He was an exceptional student, but in a system that prizes lineage over talent, his test scores couldn't buy social entry. Aanya occupied the opposite end. As the daughter of a wealthy, influential landlord, her life was defined by the heavy maintenance of family prestige. Her future was a mapped-out preservation of her father's social standing. The town's social engine was designed to keep these two worlds separate. If they ever interacted, it was meant to be transactional, never as equals. College changed the geography. In the university library, the hard lines of their hometown started to blur. Surrounded by books rather than family land, the labels they were born with didn't seem to carry the same weight. They connected over shared ambition. Aanya saw a drive in Vikram that was absent in the wealthy students she grew up with. Vikram found someone who looked at his work and his character rather than the name on his ID card. But Vikram was a realist. He knew this connection was fragile. For their relationship to survive graduation, he needed more than just a degree. He needed to build a professional life so undeniable that the biased world outside would be forced to respect him. Their romance became a quiet, shared decision to ignore the destinies their families had written for them. After graduation, the neutral ground of the university disappeared. They were immediately pulled back into their respective worlds, forced to fight the same system from opposite sides. Vikram faced the external gatekeepers. In job interviews, talent was often secondary to cultural fit, a coded term for family background. He watched peers with half his skill get hired because they knew the right people. Aanya fought an internal war. Behind the gates of her father's estate, she had to daily challenge Thakur Raghuvir Singh's insistence on caste purity. She was defending Vikram's character against centuries of tradition. The toll was heavy. Vikram was dealing with professional erasure, and Aanya was facing the threat of being disowned. They kept going only by leaning on the emotional support they offered each other in secret calls and late-night messages. They were pushing against a massive, invisible wall. And as Vikram's bank account dwindled and Anya's family pressure increased, that wall seemed to be holding firm. Vikram eventually decided to confront the barrier directly. He walked to Anya's house to speak with her father, hoping a face-to-face conversation about his merit and future would change the dynamic. Raghuvir Singh dismissed him with a coldness that had nothing to do with Vikram's potential and everything to do with his birth. It didn't. While Aanya was physically kept from the door by her relatives, Vikram was forcefully shut out. That night, Vikram sat alone on the riverbank. The rejection felt total. He had worked, studied, and survived, yet he was still being told that his lineage was a permanent ceiling he could never break through. In the silence of the river, the despair began to change shape. He stopped looking at the closed door and started looking at the water. He realized the system's failure wasn't his own. He recalled Anya's voice, the one person who had seen him clearly, and it became a source of internal heat. Resilience isn't about remaining unscarred. It's about taking the rejection and using it as the raw material to build something the gatekeepers can't control. Vikram used his engineering background to build a different kind of architecture. He launched a platform designed to bypass traditional middlemen, allowing lower-caste artisans, the weavers and tailors of his own district, to sell directly to global buyers. Aanya moved in parallel. She broke the silence at home, moved to the city, and built a career in journalism. She stopped seeking her father's permission and started building a reputation for uncovering the very systemic biases that had tried to limit Vikram. Over several years, the platform's success became impossible to ignore. It didn't just make money, it shifted the local economy. The artisans Vikram's family grew up with were now building their own houses. Vikram was no longer a boy asking for a job. He was an industry leader. Their professional wins were the visible result of the emotional pact they made in college. They had outlasted the social structure that tried to keep them apart. Their lives eventually converged in a professional setting. Anya, now an established journalist, was assigned to interview the founder of the country's most impactful artisan tech startup. They met across a glass conference table. The power dynamic of the front porch was gone. They looked at each other as two battle-tested professionals who had survived years of isolation to get to this room. This shift eventually reached Anya's father. Over years of seeing the artisans in his own district prosper through Vikram's tech, his rigid worldview faced a practical defeat. He eventually called Vikram, not to discuss business, but to offer an apology, admitting that he had spent his life valuing a name, while Vikram had spent his life valuing people. By refusing to accept the labels they were born with, Vikram and Aanya built a reality where those labels no longer determined their future. They proved that when two people hold on to each other through the worst rejections, they can change the rules for everyone who follows.